Welcome back to this episode of Bitch is a Bad Word. If you're new here, hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm one mom with 4 kids and 0 fancy letters behind my name. I bring on all of the experts to help us unpack our experiences of domestic abuse and toxic relationships as we travel down this road to healing together. Today, I am welcoming our new BFF to the show, Richard Grannon. He's a psychology-trained truth teller and one of the sharpest minds on trauma, narcissistic abuse, and reclaiming self-authority. He has spent years helping people break free from mental prisons, the kind built by manipulation, shame, and emotional warfare. He is not here to make you feel comfortable. He's here to make you conscious. In this episode, we dive deep into the mechanics of the mind, why we repeat toxic patterns, how trauma warps identity, and what real healing actually demands. So if you're ready to stop surviving and start seeing the game for what it is, this conversation is for you, and let's fucking go. Richard Grannon, welcome to Bitch is a Bad Word.
Thank you very much for having me on. I'm very honored to be here on Bitch is a Bad Word. Every time I wanted to look up the appointment for when we were doing this, I was like, how do I say? And I was just bitch. I just kept on searching bitch in my emails. I was like, am I going to be on a list or something if I keep doing this? But it's a cool name for a podcast. I like it.
Well, thank you so much. I have to tell you that when I was starting the show, before I ever recorded a single episode, I had a dream guest list that I was manifesting. You were on that list next to Alex Cooper, Drew Barrymore, and Oprah Winfrey. So manifestation fucking works, y'all.
Oprah next week, from Richard Grannon to Oprah. Come on, manifest, everyone. Let's do this. We can make this happen.
Let's fucking go. We can do this. I want to talk to you specifically. So I love that you love the name. And if you don't know, the backstory of the show is I was called a bitch by one of my kids' parent. My ex. And he was young and he's like, Mama, what is a bitch? And I remember feeling gutted. Like, I don't know how to answer this question. What is it? And so I just said, bitch is a bad word. So he wrote it on a Post-it note, spelled all fucking awesome, and stuck it on the fridge. And from that moment, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I'm probably going to make some like irreverent streetwear or some kind of fun thing that, people can mess around with. And then when this show idea came up, I'm like, this is what we need it to be. We need it to be loud. We needed to unmask, like, stop being so quiet about domestic abuse, toxic relationships. And you are somebody who is definitely not quiet about this topic.
No, you can't shut me up. Can't stop me from talking about it.
Which is so needed, right, in this space, because we're all scrolling on the internet. We're all trying to figure out, like, what the fuck relationship is this? Why do I keep falling into these patterns? Why does this person exactly remind me of every other person before him? So let's go all the way back to childhood. Like, how badly do narcissistic parents fuck us up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the imprint that needs to be laid down is something, it needs to be too strict. It needs to be tyrannical. It needs to be very demanding. I think it needs to be somewhat emotionally incestuous, to the extent that the parent instrumentalizes and uses the child in a way that is not appropriate, that would only really be appropriate in an adult relationship, as a crutch, as a coping mechanism. And I think the child needs to feel ultimately like their worth is only granted if they eviscerate themselves and replace their needs and wants with the needs and wants of the highly demanding tyrannical parent.
Shit.
I said it all. Thank you and good night.
He said what he said, done. Y'all. Like, shit. Well, because I really want to unpack that one. Like me, you said so many amazing things, but that one part where the parent has an inappropriate relationship with the child. And so I come from a narcissistic family dynamic growing up. And then I found myself in all these relationships that very much felt familiar. And because my house was toxic and my relationship with my primary parent was fucking toxic. So every time I found these men, I'm like, oh, hi. You look like home to me and you're a fucking train wreck. So I just remember feeling like I was told information when I was younger that I was definitely not capable of handling. And I always sort of felt like confused. Now I look back like, who was the parent, who was the child? And you're sort of always helping your parent through whatever emotional mess they're going through, which is too hard for anybody, of a young age to like even comprehend or understand. So then you do you lose your youth?
Yes, I think so. I think you lose your childhood, because in not perfect but good enough parenting, you would be left alone to just develop. The reason I'm answering in a slightly stuttering way is because I'm trying at the moment, like I've got stock responses because I've been on a few interviews over the last 13 years. And I'm really trying to update things and get as specific as I can. So when you are a child, if everybody watching imagines a small human being who's at the height of their neuroplasticity, which means they're very, very impressionable, they really don't have a fully formed sense of self. How could they? I mean, that doesn't really kick in until you've got to get through adolescence. You've got to be 21 and up. And so they're trying to be. They're trying to learn how to be. They don't know that they're doing that, but that is what they're doing. And so you have this fairly fragile entity that's trying to be in the world. And then you have this massive power asymmetry with a narcissistic, tyrannical, hyper-demanding parent who's just crushing all of that small, fragile infrastructure that's trying to build is being smashed apart all the time. And then you grow up and the only time you knew any sense of worth as a child is if you were solving some tyrannical prick's problem, which is not the job of a child. I mean, it's an outrage really to demand that of a small child. It's incredibly selfish. But as you just said, that's where we drew our sense of self from. That's where we drew our sense of being valued from, is trying to resolve the problems of a tyrannical train wreck of a human being.
Which is like so intense to think about. You think of this little child and it's like your responsibility should be having a snack, playing with your Legos and going outside and finding some trouble. And then you're here to sit there and you walk in to your home, which is meant to be a safe space, to someone who is just not capable or able or willing. Sharing custody with a narcissist can take a huge toll on your well-being. Believe me, I know it's an uphill battle that might even feel impossible at times. Thankfully, there are ways to combat narcissistic co-parenting behaviors by learning actionable strategies, and finding the right tool for your bestie toolkit is key. A co-parenting app like Talking Parents can be a game changer in situations like this, helping you set boundaries, reduce conflict, and document everything to a court-admissible record that eliminates the he said, she said, and all those nasty texties from your exes. With Talking Parents, you can limit contact with your ex to one space, reducing unnecessary back and forth and keeping the focus on what matters most, your kids. It's time to protect your peace, besties. Download Talking Parents and start a 30-day free trial today. Do they get gratification? Like what's the twist? Like, why did they look at a young child and put up all this mental load onto them and talk to them as if they're equal and are they expecting empathy? Is it just filling the narcissist supply? What's the motivation? And do they see what they're doing is not okay?
So I'm at the point of wondering, because I have a doctor in my family and I discuss this with her quite often. She's on the spectrum for autism. Her brother was in care, for low-functioning autism, and one of her children's been diagnosed with autism. And we've had this conversation multiple times now, and I do wonder if there's something, at the moment we have this binary. We'll say, okay, narcissistic personality disorder and people with autism have nothing to do with each other. And I'm wondering if we need to soften that a little bit and say, is there a possibility that autism is such a broad spectrum of a disorder that there could be people who are high-functioning autistics who simply cannot grasp another human being's reality? When I see highly narcissistic people talking to children and about children, I feel the temperature shift in the way a neurotypical, the person could be neurotypical and useless, or the neurotypical, shouldn't really say that, non-narcissistic person who's a parent is talking about kids. So my sister lives in California, and she's raising 2 small boys. So when I go and stay with her, it's just kids and parents. We're watching baseball games. We're watching basketball games. You're just talking to parents whilst children are running around like tiny Viking barbarians, screaming and yelling and crying. And I've never had kids, so it's novel for me. And there's a way that all normal parents talk about children. They know that they're children. They might not be that high IQ. They might not be psychologically informed, but they know that's a child. And then I listen to people who are highly narcissistic talking about children or to children. And I'm like, hey, that's not an adult. And they don't seem to grasp it. There's something not firing in that relationship. And the children are so sensitive that even that tone shift could be hurtful, could be potentially hurtful. It's very, very hard to verbalize. They ask questions of children. So you talk to a child and the child runs up to you and says, Tommy threw the ball and it went over the wall and we lost it. And I told him my mummy said no. And you're like, oh, okay, well, do you think it's time that we go and whatever, get the ball? Then they say the same question to a narcissistic adult. And it'll be like, why would Tommy do that? What? And I'm like, he doesn't know what Tommy's motivations are. Tommy's another child. They don't have, Tommy wasn't like, there's no intent there, but they assume intent. Now, when I say that, people might think, but that's not abusive. It's not abusive, but it's very confusing for children. So now I've just laid responsibility on Tommy and the child who's reporting to Tommy. And now it's a communist interrogation. Like, let's find out who the dissidents are here. Who's this ball throwing? Who's ruining nobody's ruining their games. It's a child who took a ball and went, bleh, because it felt good, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so you could see very quickly how this can, I'm giving a very neutral example, but you could see how that could be an absolute disaster if that's a primary caregiver who's constantly trying to be like, well, what's your motivation, child? Because they just can't connect with the fact that that's a child and not an adult.
I love that analogy because I've experienced this. And then you're like, the kid threw the ball because he just fucking wanted to. Thank you for saying.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know. They don't know. And as soon as they threw the ball, they can't remember what the motivation was to do it. So then they're sitting there like, I don't know. And then the other person's like, well, I don't know. I love that. It's the responsibility of having to go into someone else's mind, which none of us can do, even as an adult. I don't know why the fuck people do what they do. And it's not my responsibility to sit and spend my life trying to figure that out. So a child reporting to their narcissistic parent, things that just happen on a just random Tuesday. And then now they're interrogated. It's like, it's the stress that must cause. But I have to ask this question too, is like the stress that causes. So then they're constantly feeling like they're in a chess game and they're like, I'm not sure what the answer. You can kind of see, I've seen it where the kids are like, I have to figure out how to answer this question in a way that's going to please my parent versus I'm going to answer the question in the way that feels honest and I'm going to be comforted or consoled or, this is going to be worked through with my parent.
Yes. So what we're both alluding to is that you end up with growing up, because I was raised in this environment and I had to give answers. I couldn't say the truth I couldn't tell the truth, which is I don't fucking know. No, why? Like there was this. I just as we're discussing this, I remember there's this major drama, and it was before I moved to Portugal, so I must have been 7. Some parents and children came to the house, and the parents were drinking, and the children found some chewing gum, some 80s spearmint chewing gum, and they chewed it. And then my mum gave me this like interrogation on who chewed the chewing gum and why did they do it, and I was like, well. I really was 7. I didn't fucking know. And she was furious with me. She was absolutely beside herself with rage. And I'm like, okay, so then I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with this monster. Mm-hmm. And I just started making stuff up. I just would just lie, or if I didn't know what the answer was, I'd give an answer. And then I would... But I was doing it from a child's point of view. So I'd look at how adults talk to each other, and then I learned to talk like that. 3 years later, I'm in sales meetings. My father moved the family to Portugal. We were working for an American company, the Four Seasons company. Did I just say we were working?
I was like, wow, it's like take Richard to work day at 7, 8, 9.
My father was working for them, but I was there for the sales meetings and it was like, oh, he's such a clever little boy. He can talk like an adult. Isn't that cute?
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, because I'd already learned inside of like four years, like, okay, I know what adults want. I know what they want to hear. So I was there at there'd be like, cocktail party night, big sales meeting. Hey, everybody, do you want to buy some timeshare at Four Seasons in Portugal? And so I'd already become what they call in transaction analysis, the little professor. So I was bluffing everybody that I was really, really clever and really mature. And all it was that I couldn't get any positive feedback from my parents unless I was doing that. It was totally inappropriate. It was totally inappropriate. You asked if the childhood is stolen. Well, mine was.
Yeah, you're like sure. On a dog and pony show, and you know you're there to impress, and I didn't get any commission. You know, I'm furious. Well, kids are suing these days. You've seen all the lawsuits where the parents are putting all their kids in their Instagram videos, and then the kids are coming back later going, "Where's my fucking check?
Yeah,
you made money. Where's my money?" So, you know, maybe there's a class action we can get involved in. But I think that it's like so important to hear this, because I also like my mind goes as a mom, like I have 4 kids. My mind goes into a place of like, wait, if you're that kid, if you're a parent putting your kid in that situation, that child is susceptible to like probably some pretty dark shit because you're manipulated easily by other adults. You know, is this how grooming happens? Is this how, you know, like your parent becomes your first bully. My parent was my first bully, but that's what I used to say. And then I started realizing like, wait, now that I'm slowly understanding what we're like, domestic abuse is really like the beginning of it is coercive control. So you've got these like power dynamics and power and control dynamics. A narcissist needs power and control. The child is just a pawn and just like a fucking toaster. They don't care if you're either working or you're not working. And I'm happy if you're working and I'm unhappy if you're not working.
Yeah.
Like it's all transactional.
Yes, very much so.
So when you're a child this way, you're like, how do you're never protected by the person who's meant to protect you.
And well, not only are you not protected, but they're the greatest threat. They're the ones who are persecuting you. So there is no safety. I do wonder as well if a knock-on effect is if the child seems older than they are, and they seem to have more agency than they really do because they're pretending to have agency. They're pretending to have intentions and thoughts that they don't have. Are they potentially more susceptible to being targeted for sexual abuse? Mm-hmm. And I suspect yes, because I was, and I think it was because I was seen as being more mature than my age. And again, there's that boundary breaking thing of like, this is a child. It doesn't matter how smart or how clever or how performative that the child is. This ultimately is a child, and that's the end of it. But for people who are highly narcissistic and highly psychopathic, they seem to delight in breaking those boundaries, all boundaries. They just want to break through all boundaries. It's this very, very psychopathic drive. Indeed, if you look at psychopathic and narcissistic sexuality, the recurrent theme is anything that's messed up or anything that's perverse is enjoyable, and anything that's messed up or perverse is boundary breaking. Not kink shaming anyone. Do whatever you like, but that's one of the things that is there in the clinical research as regarding psychopathic and narcissistic sexuality.
This came up in a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was talking about an ex of hers. And I think, we posted something on Instagram, and then someone responded to the reel, like, what's his sexual preference? And then that sparked the conversation. She said, it's interesting that was the comment, because how did that person who's just watching this reel read into this? That's how I always felt. Like, I never knew, like, he would have gone one way or the other, but it wasn't a conversation of, I'm bisexual. This is my choice. This is what I'm feeling. She just said, like, in her gut, she's like, I think he would have just fucked whatever was available. Like, it didn't matter one way or the other. And then she sort of felt over time that he potentially was hiding his homosexuality, and it was coming out in like weird, kink shit. Again, no shame to the kink game. Porn that she was like, this is fucking weird, like all sorts of weird shit. And she thought maybe he's gay and he's hiding it. But now you're like, I kind of think we're opening something up here, which is fascinating.
I've heard a lot of female clients say that. They're like, oh, I think my ex-partner was gay. And my typical response is, I think him being gay would be the tip of a very large iceberg. It's not homosexual, it's not bisexual, it's like anything sexual, and anything at all. And just so people don't get upset, don't make a category error, folks. We're saying highly narcissistic and highly psychopathic people are known to correlate statistically with very intense sexual paraphilias. But that doesn't mean that sexual paraphilias indicate narcissism and psychopathy. We don't diagnose narcissism or psychopathy through sexual paraphilias. And Sigmund Freud, the old patriarchal finger-wagging German daddy who loved his cocaine, even he said sexual paraphilias, which is the proper way of saying like sexual kinks, are so common and so ubiquitous that they shouldn't be considered kinks at all. It's a feature, not a bug of human sexuality. I'm just saying all that so that you don't have a fiery comment section.
Don't come at me, y'all. I'm just trying to figure it out. I think that it's fascinating to break down, like, you look at I didn't know what a narcissist was. I didn't know the difference between a narcissist, sociopath, psychopath, borderline. You're like, I have maybe seen all of them packaged in one pretty little fucked up the gift. Thank you. And what's interesting to me is the way that I grew up, I would find, like, I have this one vivid memory. Like, if my brother was in trouble for whatever reason, I would run in the house and like clean my room and like get everything perfect. And I don't know, because I felt like there was always this like wrath. Like, it was just like the kind of a cyclone comes in and like everybody's going to go, like, we're all going in it and we're all going to be taken up in this twister. And then I'd sit there like, okay, it wasn't that I was getting physical. There was no physical abuse. It was just, I knew the mood. I knew the way that the keys went in the door. I knew, like, okay, I'm going to be next. Which, carrying it into my adult life in a very domestically abusive, psychologically abusive, walking on the fucking eggshells. I think I still have some of those like in the bottom of my foot. I'm still trying to pull them out. It was like that tone, that mood, that energy, the way they could walk through a room. You felt like you knew. It's like, what is that? What is that aura that they have that they're putting out there? Is it that grandeur of self? Is it like, what is it?
No, it's just evil. They're just children in adult bodies, and they can't control their emotions, and they tantrum, and they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit what it's doing to the children. We as adults are terrifying to children, especially if they're under the age of 10. And there's a physical threat there. Like, you could easily, a fully grown man or woman could easily beat a child to death.
Yes.
In a violent rage, and have and do and will. But aside from the physical violence, yes, the emotional violence is completely overwhelming. When it came to physical or psychological abuse in my household, I much preferred the physical. Much preferred the physical. The psychological, I think drove me insane. I think it really, really messed me up. So yeah, there's a sense of dread. If there's an adult, as an adult, if an adult storms into a room and they're in a terrible temper, you probably don't give a shit, or you might think it's funny, because it is quite funny when adults have temper tantrums, to be honest with you. But children don't think it's funny. I'll share with you an experience I had. I suffered with sleep apnea a few years ago. It's gone now, but when I would fall asleep, I recorded it on an app that checks your sleep apnea. It was an awful sound. I'd be going in my sleep. And once I went to America and I was sat with my nephew, who was around 5 at the time, and we were watching cartoons, and I had jet lag and I fell asleep. And I presume I'd done the sleep apnea noises because when I woke up, he was crying. And I wasn't shouting at him or doing anything. He just must have seen me like this, making freaky noises, and he was really upset. I think that's what happened. But I can't hear it because I was asleep. And he was looking at me, like he backed up onto the couch and he was looking at me like that. And I was like, oh shit, what's this? Doesn't take much. Doesn't take much to frighten a child. It's not, there's not a high bar set to make children feel afraid.
Please go check out our Patreon. It is growing. There is a badass community handing over there. Patreon.com/bitch is a bad word. There's free tiers. There's paid for tiers. The paid for tiers give you ad-free listening, merch drops, merch discounts. We have a private Discord server where every single member is vetted. We personally look at their license so you can build your bestie gang, rebuild your network, rebuild your net worth over there on Patreon. Patreon.com/bitch is a bad word. I try really hard in my repair. I'm not perfect. And then I work on my repair with the kids. Like you forgot your shoes. It's whatever. Sorry that I was frustrated, and we work through it. I never had the repair with my parent, my mom. I had the just like drop your shit on me and then walk away. And then whatever like shiny thing was distracting, that moved to like the next conversation or the next thing. And you could walk in the room and like, what do you want to eat for breakfast? Like, oh, I just ate my fucking feelings by myself in my room for like the last hour. So I'm not really hungry, and except for anything but like, help me figure this out. Like I always felt like never, I guess it's never validated, never like, I never felt appreciated. I didn't feel validated. And then I always felt like left with a big, heavy load.
What a thing that must have been for you to sort of, if you think back, you know, as a child, to never know where I think you described it as a typhoon of emotion, to never know where or when it's coming or what it's going to hit. And so you're acclimatizing to living in a state of dread. And if the typhoon does hit you and it does suck you up into it and it does mash you and throw you a mile away emotionally, there's no justification, there's no explanation. It's just life. Life just carries on. So there's no closing of the loop. I personally think when it comes to narcissistically abusive relationships, I'm much more focused on the targets than I am on on trying to define the multiple ways in which people can be nasty predators. There is a real problem of meaning that the targets of narcissistic abuse are left with, a real struggle to find meaning and to process the meaning of events. I actually think many of us are deficient in that. It makes it very hard to recognize that the relationship is abusive. It makes it very hard to leave the relationship, and it makes it very hard to recover from the relationship. And I suspect, and there is some research I've looked at, that actually the parts of your brain that assign meaning might become atrophied as a result of the childhood trauma. So our brains are primed in childhood for the acceptance of an abusive relationship and the difficulty in overcoming it as well.
So is that why we're so easily ready to gobble up the little breadcrumbs that an abusive person gives us when they're in that cycle?
I think so. I think it really becomes, I have a book out called A Cult of One, but when I wrote it, I was thinking about modern cults, as you would have, like the Waco, like I grew up and I watched the Waco cult unfold. And my father was vaguely involved in the Scientology people. That's what I was thinking. And then more recently I was thinking, well, what about mystery cults in ancient Greece and the Mediterranean and the Levant, where you would actually put an icon on a pedestal and worship that person. And in that place, and also in ancient, the Mayan and the Aztec civilization in South America, you would make a person be that goddess or be that god, and they would be worshipped for a period of time. In South America, that was cool for a year, and then they'd kill you at the end of it, so it wasn't great. Did you know that?
No, I've never known that.
Yeah, it was an Aztec thing. There are certain gods like Xipetotec who makes it rain. And for 6 months, you wear a cloak and you have a big headdress on, and you're the god, and you could go where you want, you can eat what you want, you can do whatever you want. And it's a great 6 months, but at the end of it, you're getting your heart cut out. You're getting your heart cut out. So just recently, I started thinking about that type of a cult, like an ancient mystery cult. And I was like, actually, in my experience, and maybe it's true for other people, I kind of worshipped my partner. And they were not, this wasn't a good god. This wasn't a good goddess in my case. This was an evil goddess, but I still worshipped her. She still had all of the power. And the reason why I drew that link is because why was there so much intrigue? I've been through it twice. And for years afterwards, I would try and solve the riddle of who this person was. And there was so much intrigue that pulled me in. And now I look back on it after a few years of therapy and I'm like, why were you trying to figure out what this idiot was like? It's again back to trying to figure out intentions. Yeah. It's none of your business. It's none of your business. So there is this a fight for meaning that people with very adverse childhood environments, I think, end up with. And I think that's a part of the narcissistic, the abusive relationship that we're not really talking about yet.
Well, we need to fucking talk about it because it is destroying people. And
yes,
it is hard to think about, I try to go back to like little Lindsay. She was super fun. She was super like friendly. And what I realized is like, I started using humor as my trauma response. I got into theater and play. Like I was always, or an entrepreneur. I'd always play games. I used to go knocking door to door, selling like pictures that I had colored. And like, fucking dangerous. Door to door, nobody knows where I am, walking out like 80s child. And then just being like, here, I have this probably pretty basic, maybe shitty picture. Will you buy it for 10 cents or whatever it is I was trying to buy? Maybe a cigarette or I did some things that I'm like, why was I smoking at 13? But like, I lived that way growing up and I felt like I could take care of myself. Maybe that's what I was doing. Maybe I was trying to find ways of like, I can get out of this. And I mean, I left home the second that I could leave home, and I was only hitched by my younger sibling who I had to take care of. And I'm kind of long way of saying, I was always told like, you're a great mom. Like you're such a great mom. Mama Lynn's. I'm like, I'm like 14 years old and I am taking care of my younger brother while my mom like is not taking care of I can't, what? And I was like rewarded with, compliments and whatever on all this stuff. And now I'm sort of thinking back and like, what an insane, like shoulder that I was bearing, that's heavy load. And my brother and I have the best relationship. I got him out of a really bad situation. But then for the rest of my life, I was always taking care of people, really good at getting shit done, like really good at getting shit done last minute or this, or, I was the problem solver. And it's like, But that's all just living. And I could manage myself in extremely stressful situations as if nothing was going on. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, Lindsay's like, she's got it. She's calm under pressure. She's fucking cool. But I think like that's not cool. I was like, this is not okay. But I was never allowed to say this is not okay. I was never allowed to say like, here, can you hold my shit for a second because I need a minute? So I always feel like I go back to just that I had to take care of so much shit when I was younger. And it just, I mean, it's helped me, believe me, like I'm a hustler. I can get shit done. But also I need to be able to say, oh, I'm fucking tired. You know, I can't do this. You know, this is too much. And I've never in my life said this is too much.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear the, so there's ADHD as a common diagnosis. I met a psychiatrist once. I'd lived opposite him for 6 months and never spoken to him. And then we put our bins out, our trash out at the same time. And he just started talking to me. He was a retired psychiatrist. And we were talking about ADHD. He said, oh, I have a different model for that. But nobody wanted to hear about it. I call it adrenophilia. I said, what's that? He said, you become addicted to adrenaline. And it shows up as brinksmanship and a desire to be in highly stressful situations, to feel the spike of adrenaline and then to fix it and control it. And I went, oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shit, yeah. That makes all the sense in the world.
I'm never happier than when I'm standing on a door as a nightclub bouncer on a violent club and fight to start. I'm never more, I'm of use, I'm present, there's no stress. I would look like a total psychopath. If you were observing me, yeah. My effect is completely flat. I'm not anxious, I'm not stressed. I'm like, here it is. The danger isn't coming. The danger is here. We're in the eye of the storm. Everything here is fine. Somebody's trying to kill you with a broken bottle. Well, then let them try. I know it's that. Yeah. That was my happy place. The work I do here, I find quite hard to do, and you know, trying to help people, I find quite hard. And for a few years, you know, I escaped my problems by going and standing on nightclubs until 4:00 in the morning, hoping something dreadful would happen so that I could have a few moments of relief. But that's adrenophilia, possibly, as my old psychiatrist friend would have suggested.
Well, we are going to have a whole conversation about that because that makes so much sense. It's always ADHD. And then I look at kids who have ADHD, like in my social circle, and it's like it's typically a hectic situation that they're living in, or like there's a divorce, or there's like a huge life event that changes. And then now all of a sudden the kid has ADHD. Well, how about he just like his life just got fucking blown up and he's having a hard time focusing?
Yes. I've seen a lot of that. I've seen plenty of that where there's a tremendous amount of stress at home. And then one way of coping with stress and the overwhelm is to overwhelm yourself with stimulation or risk or danger, or to hyperfixate on one object or a person. So what does that mean for the targets of narcissistic abuse, who maybe are somewhere on the autism spectrum and have this ADHD adrenophilia that allows them to hyperfixate on one person?
Oh my God. Fuck.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mind is blowing at the moment.
Yeah, it fits, right?
Because
this has been my question. So I can only solipsistically and narcissistically reference my own experience because I speak to clients, but I can't see inside of their minds. And so I just go back to first principles and I'm like, okay, which part of your life works? So as a businessman, all of that works. Mm-hmm. Intimacy, none of it works. So I'm like, try and take your business brain and apply it over here. Like if you were giving somebody business advice, what's the strategy and what's happening? And what I very quickly came across is hyperfixation, where if I was my own coach so Richard is in the past, say age 38, and he has a girlfriend and the girlfriend is just dreadful. Mm-hmm. She's just dreadful. It's just an absolute fucking nightmare. He's not married to her. He doesn't have kids with her. They don't share a bank account. Me as the coach, I go back and go, leave her and get another one.
Yeah.
But if I put myself back at that age, I'm like, I can't do that. I can't. That's not one of my options because I'm hyper-fixated on this person. Then the relationship is torture. Then we split up and then I can't recover because I'm looking backwards. I'm hyper-fixated. I'm hyper-fixated on one person in this weird cult-like way. But I think that hyperfixation is a part of the adrenophilia, ADHD constellation of issues that many of us have.
And that we're all like, we're all hearing, oh, it's a toxic or what is it? Attachment style, like where you're like, oh, I'm an anxious attachment, but maybe it's like, you're hyper fixated. I've been in really shitty relationships and I'm like, I have a bad fucking picker. I need to just tune this shit and like slow down and figure it out. But forever, when I was younger, I had, I went through it all. I had my slutty era. I had my like, I don't give a fuck era. I had my like, let's just get drunk and do dumb shit era. Like I've done it all and always felt like it's cool. It's me. I'm good. I'm like at my core, I'm a good person. I'm not out to hurt anybody. I was only really hurting myself. And I found these times where I would always find the bad guy. I'm like the guy that didn't give a fuck. And the guy would probably like, oh yeah, by the way, I have a girlfriend. Oh, what? Why didn't you tell me this right before we fucked? Okay. So what are we going to do? Are we going to be together? Like I was always hyper fixating on the wrong, now I'm realizing that that's what it was. It was me. Well, they were also like not so good, but it was it's me is the problem.
Yes. Now go on to YouTube and try and talk about that and watch everybody have a meltdown and accuse you of victim blaming.
Oh, shit. Yo, guys, it's just, I'm trying to figure this out. This is why I have this show. Like, I don't have any fancy letters behind my name. I dropped out of fucking high school. I do have letters behind my name. I realized PTSD.
CPTSD. You have like a master's degree in having CPTSD.
Those
and
are my
ACE,
letters.
Adverse childhood environments and experiences. If I'm trying to answer the question, how can I help the people who are following me the most? Mm-hmm. It's, a tremendous amount of my focus at the moment is on transference and projection. I think this would be hard for people to hear. It's actually a lot of it is coming from us. A lot more than we think. So you have the white belt level explanation. I met a guy. He was handsome and so charming and so powerful, and he chose me. And then he turned out to be a nasty, mean monster. And he brainwashed me and he did, okay. I'm sure that happens. Or the boys' version. I met a girl. She was really hot. She was great. We fell in love. I'm sure that happens, but I don't think that's what's happening for most of us. I really don't. I think a lot of it is transference. So we're transferring emotions that are unresolved from childhood, from parents, to another object, and we're projecting who puts who on the pedestal. That's the question I want people to ask themselves. If Dracula just flew down from the castle and picked a woman and said, "You are mine now," why would she put him on a pedestal? Why is she doing that? Why can't she see that he's a monster? I don't know if you saw the latest Dracula movie. I'm in Romania right now, and they shot it here, and he's literally rotten. Like they've shown, instead of Dracula in the Francis Ford Coppola or Brian De Palma one, the 90s one, Gary Oldman, where he can show up as beautiful if he wants to. He can change his appearance. No, this dude's just rotten all the time. Like literally there's rats crawling around in his head. And a young woman, played by Johnny Depp's daughter, falls completely into obsession with him. And I just think, where's that coming from? Like, don't we have to say that they put themselves on a pedestal and they love bomb you, so they put you on a pedestal? Aren't we putting them on a pedestal too? And if we are, why? Oh, but he was so wonderful. He was so amazing. Stop. Don't let yourself off the hook so quickly. Think, breathe. Did you put her on a pedestal? If yes, sit with it. Ask yourself, why did I do that? My claim is, it's this weird hyperfixation coping mechanism that we've developed, where you kind of, we need it in a sick, unhealthy, neurotic, pre-therapy way. We need it. We need to experience that. And so it's coming, as you just said, it's coming from me. The abusive relationship is also coming from me. Co-creation, effectively, co-creation. And this is not victim blaming. If you want to look at it morally and legally, yes, they're completely in the wrong. But if we want to heal, we have to go beyond legal. We have to go beyond moral. We have to become very philosophical and very flexible to think, why did this happen? And how do I ensure it never happens again?
It's so important that you said that, because you talk to so many women, and I speak to a lot of women on this show, and they're like, it's the same. It's like the carbon copy. I say that like all of these people are passing around some of this, like, what's this dirty mag that they're all passing around and figuring out how to fuck your life over. But it's important to also say, well, how can I not be the target? What do I need to do so that I'm not the shiny thing that this person is, gonna like fuck with? And hyperfixate, what I'm hearing you say is like hyperfixate on me, because they're like, we can easily manipulate her. We can, I can sit there and take all the inventory of her life and stick it in my narc vault and fucking, I call them masturbators, because they're just like fucking masturbating you with all their shit. And you're like, I want it. I want the praise. I want the nice thing that they just said. I want the thing that they just did. Because when you're on that pedestal, it feels like you're the fucking queen. It's like
when you say they're masturbators, they're masturbating you or themselves.
Well, they're like, they bait you. They put these like little bait hooks out, and you're like, and so you are wanting that. Like you're like, okay, you're easily hooked on their bait.
They're pleasuring you, and they're seducing you, and they're baiting you and stimulating you. Got it.
Yeah. Yep. And you're like, like you say, that's like the falling for hook, line, and sinker. You're like, I ate it up. I loved it. I loved when they said this shit. And then I did whatever I needed to do when I was in the devalue part of our relationship. Like, I'll do whatever you want me to do right now for you to just not talk like this, not do these things, not, ignore me or whatever that you're going to do to fuck with my head. And I will tell me what it is to get back to that love, the fake love. It's not real. Tell me anything. And you're like, you become a begging, groveling mess. And they're looking at you like, you're so fucking pathetic. Get the fuck off the floor. And then, hey, do you want to go out for a drink? Here. And then I'm going to buy you something nice. And then we're, so I saw like just my cycles could go long, like months. I mean, never years, but like months, sometimes hours, sometimes days. And so that's where I just always felt like I was living in this like vortex of constant confusion. Like I have no idea what's happening right now, but I just want to feel good. And I must have done something to upset you. So I'm going to be the fixer. I'm going to soothe you, and you're going to torment me too.
The masturbation comment interested me. I just really wanted to say that sentence on your podcast.
Yes.
So it could be clipped out.
Yes.
The masturbation comment really interested me. It's good, actually, because I think, so you've now opened the door back to the original. I'm very interested in psychoanalytic theory. I love Freud, Adler, and Jung. And what Freud would have said would be that there is something masturbational about this. When someone masturbates, it's kind of a narcissistic act in that it's solipsistic. There's no one else there, but you fantasize that there's someone or some people, depending on your fantasies, no judgment, however many you need, darlings. You're pretending that someone's there, but no one's there, and you're pleasuring yourself. Now, is it a stretch to say that in the narcissistic relationship, we're never really seeing each other? So the narcissist just sees you as a tool, as someone to be instrumentalized. They're not interested in you, in the real you. So they are masturbational, but also we don't really see them, do we? Because if we really saw them as they are, we probably wouldn't have got with them. So then there's like a double masturbational jacking and jilling effect that's going on, I think, where we're both living in a sort of a solipsistic Plato's cave and imbuing the other with qualities they don't have. Because, look, if I'm going to be honest, I don't think I was, at the times that I was in these narcissistic abusive relationships, I don't think I accepted these women, as adults. There's a Jungian psychologist, she's dead now, sadly. Her name is Marie von Franz. And I don't want to bore your audience, but this really struck a chord in me. She said, she has a very strong accent. You can look this up on YouTube. She was like, when the man has not integrated his anima, he becomes obsessed with the woman, and he is outside of her window howling like a cat, like saying like a horny cat. Yeah. So a guy who's not mature, individuated in the Jungian sense, finds a woman and then he obsesses with her and she becomes everything. She becomes everything to him. That's not an emotionally mature way. I don't think I saw these women. I saw an opportunity to relive childhood trauma, and I saw my romantic masturbational wank fantasy. You're it. Dude, you've known her a week. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You don't know them. You can't start a relationship with somebody where you're like, they're wonderful on the basis of like 3 drunken dates. That's not adult. We're not coming from our adult ego state. We're not conscious when we're doing that. We're coming from a child, probably a very hurt, very wounded, very lonely child ego state. It's like, oh, thank God you're finally here. You rescue me, I rescue you, and finally we'll have peace and safety. And you don't. All you're doing is opening up a gateway to hell.
It is such a gateway to hell, and you are the Bonnie to their Clyde, and it's like the kerosene to the back. Like you said, like it's us against them, and you're in this like world very quickly, as we know. It's like you said, a couple dates, and you're like, fuck yeah. I mean, this person. Everybody else, by the way, is like in the bar going, what the fuck? What are you doing? They all see it. Everybody else sees it. And then you're spending all your time going, no, I don't think you see what I see. They're like, thank God.
This is exactly where I'm at now as well. When I'm talking to people, I'm like, don't you know that other people could see it? Track back. So if I track back in my memory, I knew perfectly well that in both cases, a lot of people thought these women were weird or rude or unpleasant to be around or very eccentric or very demanding. And I also noticed they had incredibly turbulent interpersonal relationships. They'd make friends, they'd fall out with them. So, okay, can I ask myself the question, did other people in your social environment find these people problematic? Yes, but you didn't. No, I thought they were perfect. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Let's say it loud for the besties in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It is so true. And I mean, I want to say this too, because like, this is where it gets so fucking muddied, right? Because like you can have a moment, you can be in a relationship with somebody and you have a moment and things are like, hectic, or like you had like, oh, they're going through it right now. But like the recovery, going back to the recovery, you can recover pretty quickly. And for the most part, you can say to somebody, hey, I didn't like when you did this. They don't do it again. And you move forward. When you're in a relationship with a toxic, pathological fucking psycho bag, you can't do that. And so not only can't you say, I didn't like when you did this, you become because you tried it one time and it didn't go well. Then you become fearful. So then you become the person who says nothing. You're like, well, I'm just not going to bring it up, which like that's a recipe for disaster, because you're going to explode. You're going to like, I've been holding it in for so long and now I've just got to fucking like, and then in that moment, these people can turn around and they're like, they're smiling, their fucking eyes are lit up, and they're like, look at you. Look how fucking crazy. Look at you losing your shit. Look how crazy you are. Ooh, this is a bad look.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you a minute with that. You're like, but wait, you've just done all this bad shit. You've been saying all this stuff. You've been like crazy as fuck. You've been telling me all my friends are bad and all the things. And then I finally have a natural human reaction to some really bad things. I mean, I've been called the worst things. I didn't even know some of these words existed. Now, and I'm like, and I'm supposed to just be cool with it. I'm not supposed to react. And if you react, then you're the fucking crazy one. Yes. And then you're sitting there going, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Maybe I am. Maybe it is me. Maybe I did this. Maybe I should go clean my room before my mom gets mad at me.
Mm-hmm. So the responsibility is always yours. And I think that's from childhood. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, it's your fault. It doesn't matter what was said, it's your fault. And the sooner you accept that it's your fault, the sooner the pain stops. I'm reminded of George Orwell's 1984 and some of the torture scenes in 1984 where they're deliberately trying to psychologically break the target, Winston. They're trying to break his mind. And when he did as they said, the pain would stop. When he went along with things he knew were not true. How many fingers am I holding up? 3, torture him. How many fingers am I holding up? 3, torture him again. How many fingers am I holding up? I don't know. 4, 5, whatever you say. That's right.
Acquiesce.
Whatever I say. If I tell you these are 4 fingers, how many are there? 4. But I really want you to see 4. Okay. Can you make yourself see 4 when I show you this? Yeah. And that's literally the script in 1984. So you're being driven insane, and to not just say things that you know are not true, but to think things that you know are not true. It's the ultimate boundary break. It's the ultimate boundary break.
That is the goal. Like, try to flex a boundary on a narcissist and see what happens. And that's like the first sign you should run like hell, is that they can't. They don't want their like boundaries. Let me fucking break through this like I've just won the marathon. And that is I like my mind. I'm gonna like marinate on this for so long because you're saying so many things that just make sense, and something in this space that makes no sense. And we are all trying to like figure out what it is that they're doing, and no victim shaming, is that it does come to us, come to like, if you were, I say this when people are like, why'd they choose me? And you're like, well, a cat doesn't want to play with a dead mouse. You're a fucking baddie. They fucking love you. Everything that you were, that they, in those moments, in those first date, they're like, yeah, I fucking love you and your underwater basket weaving fucking hobbies. Like, I do that too. Let's go do that naked together later. And you're like, yes, fuck. Oh my God, this is amazing. So they're just, and you're eating it up. You're lapping it up. You love it. And the whole time they're like, okay, I'm just like, we're just narking it. We're putting it in all these, we're keeping it away to weaponize it later. And I think that when they weaponize your weakness and your, like, when you tell your most vulnerable things to somebody and then it comes back and whips you later, there's like, that's a pain like no other. And you're sitting there going, what?
Yes. That's the betrayal trauma. And that's known to be very, very, very hard to overcome. Betrayal trauma. You've given your life, you've given your energy, you've been absolutely sincere and totally vulnerable with somebody, and that person has taken that vulnerability and taken that sincerity, and as you just said, weaponized it, turned it into a blade, and then stuck it right in your back.
Bestie gang, that's part 1 with my 2-part conversation with our new BFF, our bro fighting for freedom, Richard Grannon, and we are just getting started. Please remember, if you are not subscribed, to go ahead and click subscribe now so you won't miss it. We will drop it next week. We'll see you next Tuesday, besties. Our editor is Kevin Mackler. Our music was composed by Drew Kevorkian. Our art design was created by Eric Johnson and Kevin Roche. Our interns are baddies. Our Patreon is managed by Kay, and this has been a Caliber Studio production. Bitches being bad.